Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. We're looking at certain verses that have been misunderstood in the Quran, and with me is Dr. Shabir Ally. Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
So the verse we're looking at, Dr. Shabir, is from verse 3, chapter 4. It says, "If you fear that you will not be fair to the orphans, then you may marry 2, 3, or 4 from among the orphans' mothers, if they seem good to you. However, if you fear that you may not be able to treat them with equal fairness, then marry only one, or from those whom your right hands held in trust. This will make it more likely that you do not deviate from the right course." So this is Cascas's translation, Dr. Shabir. And I understand that this verse is often used as a support for the practice of polygamy.
Yeah. Just to be more clear, Safia, as you know, the word polygamy can refer both ways to a man having multiple wives and a woman having multiple husbands. In classical Islamic jurisprudence, it was considered forbidden for a woman to have multiple husbands at once, but quite permissible for a man to have up to 4 wives at once. So that practice would more be called polygyny rather than the general term polygamy. But anyway, polygamy is a more common
It's a broad term.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we know what it means in the Islamic context. Now, the verse itself does not give a general sort of permission as it's understood in classical Islamic law. Of course, classical Islamic law is based not only on what the Quran says, but also incorporates what hadith indicates and also the interpretations of Muslim scholars over time. But the Quranic verse itself does not give such a general and blanket permission. It gives a conditional. If you fear that you will not do justice to the orphans, then marry the women who are suitable for you in 2s and 3s and 4s. Cascas aptly put it, marry the orphans and mothers, because this seems to be the intent of the verse. If you have orphans in the society and, it's not a welfare state yet, the welfare aspect of the Islamic state will develop later in the nascent period of Islamic cultural development. Who was going to take care of the orphans, especially when a lot of Muslims were poor. Many of them had been migrants. They left their hometown, Mecca, where they had their wealth and their possessions. They migrated with little or nothing, sometimes just a shirt on their backs, escaping persecution. So when they settled in the city of Medina, where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, lived for the last 10 years of his life, and a newly burgeoning Islamic state was developing there, without all of the developed apparatuses that we're accustomed to now to take care of the weak and downtrodden in society, especially orphans. The Quran laid a lot of emphasis on taking care of orphans. And one of the ways in which a man could have taken care of the orphan children of his fallen comrade, meaning those men who had died in battle, because this was the other aspect that Muslims were facing. They were being beleaguered by enemy forces from all sides trying to decimate the Muslim population and kill off this religion along with its followers. So when many of the men who were Muslims had died defending the frontiers of the Islamic society, what was to be done with their orphan children? And of course, their widows as well. So this verse seems to be giving a solution that kills the 2 birds with 1 stone, if I use that language. By marrying the widows, one would be taking care of the orphans. And perhaps the widows at the time would be thinking, we don't want to get married, we just want to look after our children. So the focus of the verse is on the children first. So if you fear that you will not do justice to the orphans, then marry the women who are suitable for you in 2s and 3s and 4s. That is more conducive that you may do justice. And if you fear that you will not be able to do justice even then marry only one. That is more conducive to doing justice. So if I go in sequence of the verse, I have to think it through in Arabic first. In خفتم ألا تقسطوا في اليتامى فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء مثنى وثلاث ورباع وإن خفتم ألا تعدلوا فواحدة إلا ما ملكت أيمانكم ذلك أدنى أن لا تعولوا. So if you fear that you will not do justice to the orphans, so this could be, there is a situation, you have orphans on the ground, and this society as a whole is not doing justice to them. So what can you do as an individual? A man could marry the mothers of these orphans, thereby taking care of the widow of his fallen comrade and also taking care of the orphaned children. But if you fear that by doing so you will not do justice, Kaskas has translated it, that you will not be able to deal fairly with all of the wives. That could be one aspect of injustice that could ensue in a situation like this. But it could be also that injustice to yourself. Because as much as we are encouraged to do good things, even to worship, do extra prayers and so on, we are also cautioned to take care of our own selves and our own bodies, our mental health, our physical health and so on. So we can't go overboard with any one good aspect. So yes, taking on additional responsibility by having a second or third or fourth wife to take care of these women and their children, that would be an added responsibility. Not everybody will be up to speed with that. So you have to think about whether you'll be doing justice to yourself. Are you going to be doing justice to all of these women? Will you be able to have a reasonable relations with all of these persons? And what about the children? If we know it's difficult enough to care for children
in one household.
In one household, yeah. Right? So if you have 2, 3, 4 households with children in all of them, in a modern context, think of all of the doctor's visits and so on. It could be overwhelming. So you may not be just doing justice to yourself. You may not be doing justice to the wives. You may not be doing justice to the children because as a father, you'll be split and you won't be able to give quality time to all of these children. So if in the end you fear that you will not be able to do justice by going this extra mile to do this act of kindness, then just stick with marrying only one. That's how the verse concludes. Mm-hmm. And it says, ذَلِكَ أَدْنَى لَا تَعُولُ. That is most appropriate so that you do not swerve from justice. So actually, if you think about it, this verse is about justice, justice, justice. The word justice is mentioned 3 times in the English translation using various words in the Arabic language for justice. So we can see that justice is a key component of this verse. And when Muslim scholars have gone in the direction of making it a blanket permission that the man could just simply marry up to 4 women at once without the conditions and stipulations and without paying such close attention to the question of justice, I think they have actually swerved from the verse itself and they have misinterpreted the verse. In the first place, you recall that there was a conditional. If you fear that you will not do justice to the orphans, then marry the women who are suitable for you in 2s and 3s and 4s. The if part is forgotten, it seems.
That whole clause gets deleted when people start discussing the verse.
That's right. So nowadays, because people are practicing it in such a blanket way, a lot of these marriages result in a lot of injustice. And we know as imams and counselors, those who deal with the community and we deal with real problems on the ground, there is often a lot of hurt and difficulty that results from, especially for the first wife. So we have to keep the justice in mind and see that this was a permission given at a time when it made sense, when there was a great need for it, especially when many Muslim men had been killed off in battle and there was a real problem on the ground of their orphan children to be cared for. And also so much more that we can mention, but I think the discourse has come to a reasonable conclusion that we need to pay close attention to what the verse says and not misunderstand the verse.
All right. Thank you for that, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised 1/3 of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiya and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.